If the only prayer that you said is thank you, that would be enough. These are the words of the mystic Meister Eckhart, who put in a very succinct way the power of gratitude. We are celebrating Thanksgiving here in North America this week, and I thought it'd be a great opportunity for us to review this idea of Thanksgiving, because we come together to give thanks, obviously, but in truth, it's really easy to give thanks for the typical things that we give thanks for at a time of Thanksgiving. It's a good practice, but it's not hard to give thanks for our home, for our family, for the work that we have, for a deepening connection with God. You know, these things are the typical lists of a gratitude list that we may have. But today I'm inviting you into a more radical expression of thanksgiving. I'm inviting you to give thanksgiving for everything in your life, including the challenges. Can we give thanks for the challenges in our life? That's why I've entitled this message, Love, Thanksgiving, and Miracles. Juan Enrique Toro greeting you on this wonderful day, thanking you for tuning in, thanking you for giving us the thumbs up, appreciate that. Also, thank you for those wonderful donations. The links to those donation buttons are below. So there's a story in the Bible that I like. I'd like to base this message on that. This is from Luke 17:11 through 19, and it says, as Jesus continued his journey to Jerusalem, he traveled through Samaria and Galilee. As he was entering a village, 10 lepers met him. They stood at a distance from him and raised their voice, saying, Jesus, Master, have pity on us. And when he saw them, he said, go show yourself to the priests. And they were going, and as they were going, they were cleansed. One of them, realizing that he'd been healed, returned glorifying God in a loud voice. He fell at the feet of Jesus and thanked him. He was a Samaritan. Jesus said in reply, 10 were cleaned, were they not? Where are the other 9? Has none but this foreigner returned to give thanks to God? Then he said to him, stand up and go. Your faith has saved you. To me, this is a wonderful story because of the 10, one came back to give thanks. Obviously, he had a lot to be thankful for, cleansed of, healed of leprosy. And the interesting thing about this story is that he was a Samaritan, which is one of the outcast people in biblical days there, in the times of Jesus. And so this is a significant story of a foreigner, a Samaritan especially, coming back and giving thanks. Jesus says, you know, by your faith, right? By your faith, you have been saved. Now, we don't know the fate of the other 9, whether the leprosy returned in their life or whether they were healed of leprosy forever. But obviously, Jesus is complimenting this man for the opportunity to give thanks. And so today, like I said earlier, I'm inviting you to step into what we could call radical thanksgiving. And we need to think gratitude. Radical thanksgiving can be defined as being willing to think gratitude instead of anger, malice, or revenge. So let's consider some of the aspects of Thanksgiving. There is a dark side to Thanksgiving, and then there's the light side. And so on the dark side of Thanksgiving, we have 2 aspects, which are ungrateful attitude and unloving gratitude. Okay? So a ungrateful attitude is when life seems to attack us, when challenges come up in our life. It's very difficult to give thanks. And so we don't have an attitude of gratitude at that moment when we're dealing with those challenges. So we need to be aware of that. Let's also be aware of the other dark side of gratitude, which is unloving gratitude, which is those moments in when we thank God for being better off than others. And I'm going to explain why that is considered unloving gratitude. Those are the two aspects of the dark side of gratitude. Now, the light side of gratitude is what we could call authentic or true gratitude. And it's actually very simple. It's very simple because it recognizes that there is no separation. No separation from God, no separation from our brothers and sisters, and no separation from all of creation, all living things, right? So that we consider the dark and the light side of gratitude. So let's explore this ungrateful attitude. Now, when we have challenges in life, it takes a great intention to give thanks, right? It really calls us to dig deep. Sometimes we're not even ready to go there right away. And yet, as we know, the challenges in our life have been those that have really given us the depth of character, has given us the profound lessons and opportunities to learn, to grow, and to strengthen our faith. And so sometimes, after we've been through the challenge, we look back, years later, we give thanks for that. It was very difficult to go through that, but boy, I give thanks that, I had to go through that because I learned a great lesson. I had a great opportunity to grow. My faith was strengthened. I am who I am today because I had to go through that very difficult situation. I had to call upon strength and wisdom and endurance and perseverance that I didn't know I had, we might say to ourselves, right? And like I say, this does require very strong intention, right? It requires, us to have real clarity as to what we're all about. Obviously, it requires some deep prayer and a heart full of compassion. Compassion for the difficulty that we're enduring. It takes practice. And this is why we're recommending always, to give thanks, give thanks, give thanks. If gratitude is a constant for us, it makes it easier when we're finding ourselves in those times of challenge. It also takes clarity of vision. We know we need to be very clear where it is that we're going with this gratitude idea. Why is this important? I'll get into that in the true gratitude section of this message. And obviously we need to have a strong theology in the absolute goodness of God, right? We need to have a deep belief and a knowing that God is absolute good. And so if God is in all things, God must be in this challenge, in this problem, in this difficulty. And so I'm going to, my theology is going to guide me in the way that I need to go. Recently, I had my 50th high school reunion. I was very glad to be able to attend that reunion. And I'll have to say I learned some very important lessons during that time. My memory of that whole time in my life was more negative than positive. Okay, I felt very separate from the group. I didn't feel very much accepted or part of. And yet, as I went to the reunion and I talked to many different people, they were sharing stories. Some things that I had totally forgotten about. And many of the stories that were shared were very positive expressions of my person, things that I did that benefited people, things that other people did that benefited me, which my mind had totally forgotten. What I'm trying to say is that in my mind, in my memory, it was that time in my life was just, it seemed like a very dark period indeed. And yet I come to see that in that space there were plenty of opportunities to give thanks. Thanks for opportunities that I had to contribute, to be of service, to bring joy or service, love in some way to others. And also the love that I received, the acceptance that I received that at the time I wasn't really taking it into my heart. And so, even in the midst of what could seem like a very dark situation, there are opportunities to give thanks. And this is what we're calling radical gratitude today. So let's be aware of our unloving attitude, right? Ungrateful attitude. Let's see where it is that we're challenged, and let's see if we can't come to a sense of gratitude, maybe not years later, but a little more immediate. If we have the right consciousness, even in the midst of very difficult, we can say, well, what could I possibly give thanks for in this moment? That's making use of radical gratitude. And then let's look at the other dark side of gratitude, which is the unloving gratitude. It's not unusual for people to say, my situation is not perfect, is not fantastic, is not great, but boy, I'm better off than they are. And that, I feel grateful for that. Well, even though it may be common, it's really not a very loving expression of gratitude. In fact, it is setting ourselves as a comparison. If you think about it, there's no reason why you should feel better if you see other people suffering. Why would other people's suffering make you feel better? There's no reason for that. So when we fall into that trap, what we're doing is we're setting up a comparison, or comparing our situation with somebody else's. And when we're in comparison, we're also in a competitive framework, us versus them. We think there's only so much health to go around, and so much peace to go around, so much love to go around, so much happiness to go around, and at least I have a little bit more than somebody else. Wrong thinking, right? This is not love. Let me drop a little truth bomb for you here today. Love makes no comparisons. Love makes no comparisons. So if you think about it, when you think you're better off than somebody else, then you really fall into the trap of comparison. And that is not love. That is unloving. And so, we're called to give thanks and bless all of our brothers and sisters, even those who walk in hatred and separation. And if you watch the news, if you watch the political climate, environment we have, it's not hard to fall into seeing people with hatred and separation, and you might fall into that trap yourself. And so, some people are expressing love, and others are calling for love, right? And so what I'd recommend is that if you want to do a nice exercise tomorrow, at the top of every hour, take a couple minutes to reflect back on the hour that just passed and see what's weighing you down. Where could I not find gratitude? Where could I not be thankful for my brothers and sisters that surround me? And if you make note of that, then you can choose to consciously bring some gratitude for whatever way these individuals are showing up in your life. Something that, an affirmation that can really helps me. Love is the way I walk in gratitude. Love is the way I walk in gratitude. Oof, it's a beautiful, beautiful affirmation. It can help you. Then at the top of the next hour, you take a few minutes to review back your last hour, and then that'll help you. We're practicing gratitude here. Love is the way I walk in gratitude. And so we come then to true gratitude. And if you've been paying attention, you'll notice that true gratitude really has to do with the inclusion of love. right? Love and gratitude joined together offer true gratitude. And what are we grateful for? It's not complicated. It's very simple. God has given you everything. God has given me everything. Here's another powerful affirmation. All that God has is mine. All that God has is mine. And it's not only mine, it also is for my brothers and my sisters. The gifts that I receive belong to everyone, right? No one is excluded. And so here's another truth bomb. Appreciation is the only appropriate response to our brothers and sisters. Appreciation is the only appropriate response to our brothers and sisters. And I'm talking about radical gratitude here today. We can be grateful for the love that we receive from them, and we can also be grateful for their call for love. Right? The call for love is when they're acting out. When, they're screaming, I'm not feeling the love of God, and so I'm doing this hateful thing, this thing that represents separation, this attack, or whatever it is. If they're calling for love, and we have the right consciousness, we can perceive it as a call for love, and we can respond in love, which is ultimately the way to heal the situation. If we perceive correctly, we will see their acting out as a call for love. So both the expression of love and the call for love will bring love into our awareness if we perceive it correctly. Now that is what we call radical gratitude, right? That is what we call radical gratitude. And so every time that we choose love over fear, this is what we could define as a miracle. When love overcomes fear, it's a miracle. There's a healing that has happened within us, and we can give thanks for that. And when we choose to engage in radical gratitude, radical thanksgiving, we take all situations, we add love to it, and we can give profound, authentic gratitude and thanksgiving for everything in our life. Ultimately, that's what we're called to do. That's what our world needs, and that's what we need at our soul level to know and accept the real blessing that we are. Because when we give thanks for all things, we're including ourselves, we're including God. If we leave something out of gratitude, we're leaving something out of ourselves, something out of God. We're engaging the separation. We're falling in the ego trap. So, on this Thanksgiving week, bless you for engaging in Thanksgiving with the simple things, watching out for the dark expressions of gratitude, right? The unloving attitude and the unloving gratitude and the unloving attitude. Attitude and gratitude, they rhyme. And so we watch out for those. We want to stay centered on true gratitude. Juan Enrique Toro greeting you, thanking you for tuning in today, thanking you for the thumbs up, the subscriptions which really help, and the links to the subscriptions are below, reminding you today and always, life is consciousness, and consciousness is life.